There was a time when a coy silence was appreciated in a woman. Well, this is not one of those times. And you're really starting to piss me off. Oh, boy. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to get angry.
I'm smiling, but there's nothing to smile about. I put 4 movies on this list that were older, right? And how ironic. I was very curious about which ones, or if there would be any that would make me feel like, I guess you had to be there. How ironic that is the most recently made movie that gives me that feeling. Tales from the Crypt, Demon Knight. I watched that thing last night and I was like, I could see myself enjoying this movie if I was, 13 in 1995. I mean, it's rated R. But, if I was in my young, early teens, maybe mid-teens, I would really enjoy this movie because it would be so new and different in 1995. But in 1995, I was minding my business at 5 years old in Haiti. So, it was so bad. The makeup and effects for the demons were good. The story could have been something, but the acting, especially from the main character, Breaker, who, held the mysteries of what was happening, I didn't like his acting. I didn't like his acting. I didn't like, the stereotypical bad boy with the long hair, very 90s. I didn't like him. This movie felt so dated with the character tropes. Essentially, basically the bad boy, the Lady of the Night character, who of course gets slapped at one point, and the mysterious main character. So all of these people wound up trapped in a hotel that used to be a church, because the collector, played by Billy Zane, is after Breaker, the main character, to get this key, one of 7 keys, to get the key so that they can bring back the night. Because in the beginning, this is kind of biblical. This is very biblical, which is fine. The story idea was good, but the execution was absolutely terrible. But like I said, I could imagine myself being nostalgic and loving this movie if I was born, in a different time. So, there were 7 keys that were held by the demons. In the beginning there was darkness and the demons roamed or whatever. Then God created light and scattered the demons and the 7 keys throughout the universe. Now the demons this whole time, for millions of millennia, have been looking for the 7 keys to bring them together so that they can bring back the night. Now they just need the 7th key, which Breaker has. That key contains the literal blood of Jesus, as well as the blood of the last Demon Knight, who had it before he passed it on to Breaker during World War I, literally on the battlefield. And so Breaker makes his way to this church. He's been looking for the next Demon Knight because he has these stars on his palm. And when they align, it means it's time to, pass the baton. And so he gets to this, and there's a cast of characters. I already named some of them. One of them is Geraldine. Some of them call her Geraldine. I'm pretty sure her name is Geraldine. That's what Irene called her. Played by Jada Pinkett, because that's who she was at the time. She is literally her face is the best thing about this movie. She is gorgeous. The bone structure, the haircut, the color on her hair. She is beautiful. But yeah, so, the collector makes it, and Billy Zane clearly had a lot of fun with this role. But he had a lot of fun, and he was good, but it was too camp for me, although I know that's what he was going for. But it was too camp. He was wearing sunglasses in the middle of in the hotel that has no lights on. And I was like, how can you see where you're going? And so he terrorizes these people. I did not expect somebody to literally get punched through the face. That was shocking. And, he terrorizes them, picks them off one by one by offering them what they want and possessing them. Once they agree to, one of them is an alcoholic, and so he offers that guy alcohol, alcoholic beverages, and then the guy wants it, and so the guy takes it, and so he ends up possessing that guy. And one of them, Irene, gets her. She's the only one. Her and Geraldine are the only ones who resist, the black women who resist his temptation. And but at some point, Irene loses an arm. Like, things were happening, and you saw that clip when fire came out of his crotch to lash, and it wasn't fire because she didn't get burned, but it was energy to lash at her. There was a whole, and during this scene, there was like a tango number that was happening. And then so ultimately, Geraldine is the chosen one, essentially, because Breaker gets killed, and he's like, you're the one. Like, he tried to seduce you, didn't he? And it didn't work. Like, you're the one. Take this on. And she's like, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, and I didn't see it come. Like, I knew she was an important character. I didn't see her. Like, watching the movie, I did not see this being passed on to her, because the length of the movie, she's pretty much just one of the, like, she doesn't stand out in any way aside from not taking the collector up on the seduction attempt, like not falling for it. There is nothing that sets her apart. Breaker spends more time talking to Roach, the asshole, and the cop, like, you know what I mean? Like, that they don't really build a rapport. So then when he dies and she cries, I'm like, it must be the stress of the entire situation that's making her cry, because. And so after he dies, the collector is still alive, and so she literally drenches herself in the blood of, well, it's not Jesus' blood anymore, but in the blood. She's covered by the blood. And at some point, so anytime he touches her, he gets burned, and so he drops her ass in the shower to rinse the blood off of her, and so she drinks the last bit of the blood that's in the key. And so then the tango scene happens. His fire, Johnson lashes at her, and then eventually she spits the blood into his face, and that's what destroys him. And so after all of that carnage is done, she's the last one left standing. She decides to hitch a ride out of town on a bus, and before she gets in the bus, she drops some of the blood in the entryway of the door to protect it from any demons coming in. And so then at the next stop, there's a character who, the door opens, but he can see that there's a force field because he's a demon. And he's like, no thanks, I'll wait for the next bus. And so then the bus, drives off, and the guy starts walking after the bus, and I think he's whistling, I don't remember. But that's Tales from the Crypt Demon Night. And if you love this movie, like, I know it was probably very different because, specifically with Jada, and, her being, a surviving black character in a horror movie in the mid-90s. But what do you love about this movie? I don't mean that ironically. Like I said, like, if I was born in a different time, I can see myself being nostalgic about this movie and loving it and being obsessed with it when I was like, early teens or whatever. So if you do love this movie, you're watching this, list all the reasons why. This is I legitimately debated putting this at the, after Master, which I did not like. But I was like, at least this one had a coherent story. Like, I knew why all the characters were in the position that they were in and why they were in that setting, and they were literally trapped. But yeah, this was terrible. It did not the story's fine, but like the acting, some of the effects were absolutely horrible, but I forgive them. Like, this is what happens where, like, I don't know, was special effects new technology back then? Like, it's what happens when you go like balls out with new special effects, and then time goes on and it gets better, and what you did looks like absolute trash. They should have just, like, there was lightning in the background at a certain point that looked completely fake. This movie is a 1. Did I give it a 2? It's a 1 out of 5.